Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a very interesting gun, one that I have been aware of for some time, and as a lover of SIG firearms, have really kind of wanted to take to the range, shoot, and see if one of these belongs in my collection. Today I have the Sig SP2022. And essentially what this is a Sig P series gun, probably close to that of a P226, but with a polymer frame. And the idea of this was to make the P series of guns a little bit more affordable, easier to make, and try to compete with all of the new polymer guns that were coming on the market in the late 1990s and early 2000s. So if you like the Sig P series, the 220s, 226s, 229s, this gun pretty much operates the same. Yes, there are a few differences, but it has a polymer frame. I believe this was part of the Sig Pro series is what they called it, and there was a number of firearms in that series, and this is the only one that was still in production as of a couple of years ago. I'm not 100% sure that this one still is in production. I'm sure somebody can tell me in the comment section below. But this was a very popular pistol for law enforcement. In fact, that was its kind of main target audience, and the name 2022 actually comes from one of the police contracts over in Europe, as when these entered service they were supposed to last until 2022. So that's where that comes from, and the SP means Sig Pro series. So this is kind of interesting, especially because it's designed for the law enforcement demographic, and I like anything law enforcement and military, plus it's a Sig, so you're assuming it's going to be pretty high quality because it has that name on it. So I'm really excited to shoot this thing and see what it does. Now, before I show you guys my first shots, I'm going to go ahead and spoil this review for you. There's an issue with this gun, and for a lot of people I think it's going to be a big issue. Now this might be only to this example, or it could be to the Sig SP2022s across the board. I'll explain to you after the shooting portion of the video, but essentially you're going to see me flinch. You're gonna see me flinch in this first video, and yes, I am not very proud of it. So I wanna say first and foremost, if you come to my channel for tactical shooting or trying to learn how to be a better shot, this is not the channel for you. I am an average gun guy that is simply a collector. I love cool and unique firearms, and I love taking them to the range. I'm not somebody that is a tactician. I'm not somebody that is a competitive shooter, and I don't do trick shots. So don't come to my channel for that. This is all from the perspective of an average gun guy. So I'm gonna show you my first shots, 7 yards. It's gonna be 15 rounds. And yes, you're going to see me flinch, and I'm going to talk about it after you see me shoot it. So there you go, you saw me flinch. Now, before I tell you my initial impressions of this gun, I have to tell you, after I shot that portion of this range report, I kind of wanted to discard it, delete it, and do it again. But that would be a lie to you guys. I am always honest with my review. So that was the first shots with this gun, and I did flinch. So I want to give it another try, and I'll tell you why. Because I like to ride the reset of firearms. I like guns that have very tactile resets. And I could swear this gun had a reset, but apparently it didn't, and I flinched. It was bad technique, I fully admit it, but I know there was a reset. So I'm gonna shoot this thing again, see what happens. So as the Britney Spears song goes, oops, I did it again. Yes, I flinched again, and I swear once again there was a reset. Well, remember this is a range report on this firearm and not my abilities as a shooter. But let's take out the magazine here. Let's safety check this firearm. And I'm going to show you the reset on this gun and what the problem might be. So let me come over here. The hammer currently is back. I will pull the trigger. The hammer will fall. Now I will reset the gun or reciprocate the slide. Now I'm going to pull the trigger out and go to the reset. Hopefully you will hear an audible click and I will feel a tactile reset. There it is, right? You heard it. Just kidding. That's not the reset. There is an extra click in here. Let me cycle the gun again, pull the trigger, and here we go. Let's see if I can get multiple clicks or audible clicks before the reset. There's one. There it is. So there is multiple clicks there. I don't know why. It definitely feels like it resets before it actually does. Sometimes this reset is extremely long, sometimes it's short. It falls in different places. And sometimes there's even 2 or 3 clicks before the reset. I know what some of you guys are going to ask. Is the gun clean? Yes, it is. I have already taken this thing apart. There is nothing in the trigger mechanism that would cause this. And I don't know if this is intrinsic to this design or just this gun specifically that I have in my hands, but there's something weird about this trigger. I'll talk more about that in just a moment, but let me give you my initial impressions about everything else about the gun. The gun actually shoots pretty nice. I really do like it. It has more recoil than the standard P series of guns. Obviously, it has a very high bore axis, just like most SIGs, and it has a polymer frame. And those two things are not going to be conducive to a very light recoiling gun. You're going to get a lot of muzzle flip even in 9mm, but it is manageable, but it's just more than your standard like P226. I also shot this extremely low because I totally forgot that this uses the Sig sighting system, which typically you have to compensate for. It's just the way that they set up their 3-dot system. The gun is actually really accurate. I just got to make sure that I shoot a lot higher. The gun also seems to be relatively reliable, and all of the controls are in the typical places that you would see on the Sig P series of guns. They're just designed a little bit differently, which they have to be because this is a polymer frame, and the slide comes off a little bit different. You don't have a takedown lever over here. You actually pull the slide stop out. So that's a little bit of a design difference. And as you can see, the slide stop on this gun is really long, but that's just because it has to be because the gun comes apart. So in general, I gotta say the gun is pretty nice with the exception of that trigger. So everything about it so far, I really, really do like, but there's something wrong with that trigger. All right, well, I'm gonna let my wife shoot this and see what her experiences are and see if she has the same issue. Well, as you can see, she had the same issue as well. She likes to feel the reset, and I didn't tell her what I thought the problem was or what I was experiencing before she shot it. So I wanted to see if my experiences would be simulated with her, and it looks like they were. So there's something wrong with this gun, or maybe it's the way it's supposed to be and there's supposed to be multiple clicks. I have no idea. If you guys know, tell me in the comments section below, but my gut says that's not the way this is supposed to be. Those clicks are audible, they feel like a reset, they're very tactile. I don't know what's going on. But I still want to give this gun a good review because it is functioning really well and it seems to be accurate, and after all, it is a SIG and a very popular gun. So I'm going to go now for accuracy. I'm going to go for the head here, still at like 7 or 10 yards. I'm going to take my time, and now I know how this reset functions. So I'm going to make sure I go out far enough till I get past the double click, and let's see what happens. So that grouping's not too bad. I just have to adjust for the elevation and be very mindful of where that reset is. It's very weird to have 2 or 3 clicks before the gun actually resets, but the gun seems to be very accurate, and so far I haven't had a single malfunction. It feels good in my hands personally. Well, I'm going to try to do this a little bit differently now. My wife had the idea of always making sure you're consciously releasing the trigger all the way. That's something that I normally don't do. As I said, I like to ride the reset. I don't want the trigger to come out any further than I have to because it can slow me down and get my sights off target. But I'm going to give that a shot as well. And these are going to be my last rounds before I give you guys my final thoughts, just because I'm not really enjoying this as much, having to deal with this reset. Alright, so what's my final thoughts here on the Sig Sauer SP2022? Well, I gotta say, it's a good gun. It just has a crappy trigger in it. I like the idea. I think Sig was going for something really cool here because, you know, a lot of companies have tried to streamline their manufacturing processes and go with polymer guns. I totally get it. Now, do I like the P series, the P226, P229 more? Well, yeah, those feel more substantial. They're like real guns. This one feels more like a toy, but that's just because it has a polymer frame, but it still feels high quality. I think Sig was onto something here. I just don't think with this trigger, they executed it very, very well. As I mentioned before, it still has the high bore axis of the standard P series, and with the polymer frame, you have less weight, you have a little bit more recoil, or I guess muzzle flip, I should say. The recoil, of course, is very, very manageable. I do not believe that these magazines are interchangeable with the P series. I believe the body is, but the base plates are not. In fact, it even says on the side of this magazine, Sig Pro. So they probably did that on purpose, so you have to buy extra magazines. But I don't have a 226 here right at the moment to compare it to, but that base plate does not look like it would fit a 226 at all. But as I said, I think the body of it would, so maybe you can just replace the base plates. The controls are natural, very ergonomic. The gun comes apart kind of easy. And I went on Gunbroker to see what these things are going for right now. I kind of thought, being a polymer framed pistol, these would actually be relatively affordable. My assumption would be in the $500 range. I actually found these, new old stock, about $700 to sometimes $900 if you can find the more rare flat dark earth variation, which of course, if I had one, I would want. My only concern with buying one of these, because to be very honest with you, I kind of want one. They are kind of neat and do have a place in SIG history. I just hate that trigger. So if this trigger is only an anomaly to this example, I may pick up one of these if the right one comes along, especially if it's in flat dark earth. But if this trigger is this way on all of the SIG SP2022s, I definitely don't want it. So if this is a gun that you're thinking about buying or maybe have an opportunity to pick up, make sure you dry fire it. Make sure you figure out what kind of trigger this is, and if it has that weird double or sometimes triple reset. It does not feel right to me at all. So, how would I rate this gun on my little star system? Well, because I know some people are going to tell me in the comment section below, my Sig doesn't do that, you're completely wrong, and this is a trash review. Well, I'm going to review this with the assumption that not all the triggers are like this, and I'm also going to give you a review assuming that they are. So, if the trigger didn't have this weird reset issue, I would easily give this gun 4 stars out of 5. There's things I like about it. I think it's a very high quality polymer frame gun. You guys know I absolutely love Sig. I think they have something going on here that is really nice. It's a great idea. I'd give it 4 stars out of 5, but if they all have this weird trigger in it with double and triple resets, well, I'm going to have to give this thing 2 stars out of 5 because to me that makes the gun completely unshootable, very unenjoyable. So if you own one of these, tell me, does your trigger have this same issue? I would love to know. If you guys say yours doesn't fire this way, well, I may pick up one of these. But if other people have this same problem, this is definitely a gun that would go on my list for people to avoid. Now, if you're a Sig collector and like the history of police pistols and military pistols, well, maybe this has a place in your collection for that reason and that reason alone. So I won't tell you to completely avoid it, and obviously a lot of people like it because I guess for a while it was a popular pistol and certain police agencies have adopted it. So there you go, the Sig SP2022 polymer framed P-series gun, very interesting. And it has a terrible trigger in it, so I guess there's nothing else I can say about it. But everything else about the gun, I give it high marks, and I really like. But that problem is so big, I don't really want one if they're like this. So there you go. I'm interested in seeing the comments and to see what your experiences are. And I'm going to ask, don't make fun of me too much for my flinching, but I understand if you do. I'm an honest channel. I'm just a gun collector, not a professional shooter. So there you go. So be easy on me. That's all I ask. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.